Have you ever had a moment when everything seemed to be falling apart, only for a stranger's kindness to change the course of your life? That's exactly what happened to Ellie and James. If you're touched by their story, please like this video and subscribe to see more real stories that restore faith in humanity. The rain fell in sheets across the parking lot as Ellie Matthews sat in her car, mascara-stained tears mixing with the raindrops on her cheeks. She stared at her reflection in the rearview mirror, barely recognizing the woman looking back at her. Her carefully applied makeup was smudged, her hair, which she'd spent an hour styling, now hung in damp strands around her face, and worst of all, her dress was torn from shoulder to waist, exposing the slip underneath. "This is a sign," she whispered to herself. "I should just go home." She'd been looking forward to this blind date for weeks. After 2 years of throwing herself into work following her divorce, her best friend Mia had finally convinced her to try dating again. "He's perfect for you," Mia had insisted. "A kind, single dad who loves books as much as you do." But the universe seemed determined to keep Ellie single. First, her car had a flat tire on the way to the restaurant. Then, while changing it in the rain, her dress caught on a jagged piece of metal, tearing a long, irreparable gash down the side. Now she sat in the parking lot of Bellini's, 15 minutes late, looking like she'd just survived a hurricane. Inside the restaurant, James Parker checked his watch for the third time. His daughter's babysitter had a strict curfew, and every passing minute made him more anxious. He'd almost cancelled this date altogether. Juggling single parenthood with his contracting business left little time for romance, but something about the way Mia had described her friend Ellie made him curious enough to say yes. "She'll be here," he reassured himself, taking another sip of water. "Traffic is probably bad because of the rain." His phone buzzed with a text from the babysitter. "Emma's asking for you. Says she can't sleep without her goodnight story." James sighed. 7-year-old Emma had struggled with anxiety since her mother walked out 3 years ago. He was about to text back when movement at the entrance caught his eye. A woman stood in the doorway, soaking wet and clearly distressed. Her dress was torn, and she looked like she was fighting back tears. Their eyes met across the room, and something in her vulnerable expression tugged at his heart. Ellie wanted to disappear. Everyone was staring. The hostess approached with a sympathetic smile, but before she could speak, a tall man with kind eyes and salt and pepper hair at his temples was suddenly standing beside her. "Ellie?" he asked gently. She nodded, mortified. "James, I'm so sorry. I had a flat tire, and then my dress, I should just go." Without hesitation, James slipped off his blazer and draped it around her shoulders. "Please don't," he said. "Unless you really want to. But I'd hate to miss the chance to meet the woman who loves Jane Austen and makes homemade pasta from scratch." The simple kindness of his gesture, covering her torn dress without making a fuss, brought fresh tears to Ellie's eyes. But these weren't tears of embarrassment, they were of relief. "I must look terrible," she whispered. James smiled, the corners of his eyes crinkling. "You look like someone who's had a rough day but showed up anyway. That takes courage. I admire that." As he guided her to their table, his hand lightly touching her back, Ellie felt something she hadn't experienced in years, the flutter of possibility. Their conversation flowed easily, from books to travel dreams to their shared love of cooking. James told her about Emma, his voice softening when he spoke of his daughter's passion for astronomy and her struggle with her mother's absence. "She collects facts about stars," he said. "Says they make her feel less alone when she's scared at night." Ellie found herself sharing things she rarely discussed: her failed marriage to a man who'd made her feel invisible, her dream of opening a small bookstore cafe, her fear that at 36, she'd missed her chance at the family she'd always wanted. When James's phone buzzed again, his expression grew concerned as he read the message. "Emma's having a rough night," he explained. "The babysitter can't get her to calm down." Ellie nodded, understanding. "You should go to her." James hesitated, clearly torn. I'm really enjoying our time together. We can reschedule, Ellie offered, though the thought of ending their evening brought unexpected disappointment. James studied her face for a moment, then asked, "Would you like to come with me? It's not exactly a conventional first date, but you could meet Emma. Maybe help me tell her a bedtime story? She loves meeting new people, especially ones who know about books." The invitation surprised her. Meeting his daughter on a first date was unconventional, but something about James made her trust him completely. "I'd like that," she said. As they drove through the rain to James's house, Ellie felt nervous but excited. The modest two-story home was warm and inviting, with children's artwork framed on the walls and a telescope set up by the living room window. The babysitter, a college student named Zoe, looked relieved when they arrived. "She's asking for her star story," she explained to James. Emma sat in her bed surrounded by stuffed animals, her small face tear-streaked but brightening when her father appeared in the doorway. "Daddy," she exclaimed, then noticed Ellie standing behind him. "Who's that?" "This is my friend Ellie," James said. "She loves books just like you do." Emma studied Ellie with curious eyes. "Do you know any stories about stars?" Ellie stepped forward, still wearing James's oversized blazer over her torn dress. "Actually, I do. When I was little, my grandmother told me that stars are windows where angels peek through to watch over us." Emma's eyes widened. "Really?" "That's what she believed," Ellie said, sitting carefully on the edge of the bed. "Would you like to hear more stories about stars?" For the next hour, Ellie and James took turns telling Emma stories, some from books, some from their imaginations. The little girl's eyelids grew heavy, and she finally drifted off to sleep with a small smile on her face. In the hallway outside Emma's room, James looked at Ellie with wonder. "You're amazing with her," he said softly. "Thank you. She's a special little girl," Ellie replied. "You're doing a wonderful job with her." James offered to drive Ellie home, and they sat in comfortable silence for part of the journey, the rain now a gentle patter on the windshield. "This wasn't exactly the date I had planned," James admitted as they pulled up to her apartment building. Ellie smiled. "It was better. Even with the flat tire and torn dress?" "Especially with those," she said. "They led me to see the real you, not just first date you. Not many men would have handled tonight the way you did." James turned to face her. "Would you like to try again? Maybe something more traditional next time, dinner without emergency bedtime stories?" "I'd like that," Ellie said. "But I wouldn't mind the bedtime stories either." As she watched his car drive away, Ellie realized she was still wearing his blazer. She pulled it tighter around herself, breathing in the faint scent of his cologne, and felt something she hadn't felt in years: hope. Their second date was at a bookstore cafe, where they browsed shelves together and discovered their shared love of historical fiction and cooking memoirs. Their third date included Emma, a picnic in the park, and stargazing through the portable telescope James brought along. By their fifth date, Ellie knew she was falling in love not just with James, but with Emma too. The little girl had taken to calling her Ellie Star, because of their first meeting and the stories they continued to share. But love rarely follows a smooth path. 6 months into their relationship, James's contracting business faced a crisis when a major client backed out of a project, leaving him financially vulnerable. At the same time, Ellie received an unexpected job offer in another city, the kind of opportunity that could fund her bookstore dream but would mean leaving James and Emma behind. "You have to take it," James insisted one night as they sat on his porch swing after Emma had gone to bed. "This is your dream. But what about us?" Ellie asked, her heart aching at the thought of leaving. "What about Emma?" James took her hand. "We'll figure it out. Some things are worth fighting for." The night before Ellie was scheduled to leave, Emma came to her with a small, wrapped package. "It's for when you miss us," the little girl explained. Inside was a handmade star ornament, crafted from glitter and cardboard. "Daddy helped me make it," Emma said. Now you can have your own star to look at. Ellie held the child close, tears streaming down her face. I'll look at it every night, she promised. The 6 months they spent apart were filled with video calls, weekend visits when possible, and countless text messages. Ellie threw herself into her new job, saving every extra penny toward her bookstore dream. James rebuilt his business, securing new clients and creating a more stable future for Emma. When Ellie finally returned, it was with enough savings to open her bookstore cafe in James's town. The night of the grand opening, with Emma helping to arrange books on shelves and James hanging the Starlight Books Café sign above the door, Ellie realized that sometimes life's tears and rips lead to the most beautiful mending. 1 year to the day after their first date, James brought Ellie back to Bellini's. This time, her dress was intact, though she wore his blazer anyway. It had become something of a good luck charm. I have something for you, he said, sliding a small box across the table. Inside wasn't a ring, as she'd half expected, but a key. It's to our home, James explained. Emma and I would like you to move in with us. To make our family official. Ellie's eyes filled with tears of joy. Are you sure? I've never been more sure of anything, James said. The night you showed up in that torn dress, something told me you were going to change our lives. And you have, in all the best ways. 3 months later, James proposed properly, with Emma's help. The little girl handed Ellie a book, a special edition of Pride and Prejudice, with a ring nestled in a cut-out section of the pages. Their wedding was small and perfect, held in the garden behind Starlight Books. Emma served as both flower girl and ring bearer, proudly walking down the aisle in a dress adorned with tiny stars. During their vows, James said something that made everyone reach for tissues. Some people spend their lives searching for their other half. I was blessed to find not just my missing piece, but someone who made both Emma and me feel whole again. 5 years later, Starlight Books Café had become the heart of their community. James's contracting business specialized in renovating historic buildings, and Emma, now 12, had a little brother named Leo who shared her love of stars and stories. On the anniversary of their first date each year, Ellie would take out her torn dress, now framed in a shadow box alongside James's blazer and Emma's handmade star. It served as a reminder that sometimes the most beautiful love stories begin with something broken. Do you ever wonder what would have happened if I'd just gone home that night? Ellie asked James as they sat on their porch swing, watching Emma teach Leo about constellations in the backyard. James squeezed her hand. I like to think we would have found each other anyway. Some people are just meant to be stars in each other's sky. As the children laughed in the gathering dusk, pointing at the first evening star, Ellie knew he was right. Sometimes the universe tears things apart just so they can be mended into something even more beautiful. If this story touched your heart, please like and subscribe for more content that celebrates the unexpected moments that change our lives forever. Remember, sometimes our greatest blessings come disguised as our biggest disappointments.